Thank you, Oyeyemi, for the background report. We have here in the studio Professor Joseph Utsav. He's the Honorable Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Nigeria. Right.
Also have in the studio Professor Emmanuel Adanu, DGCO, National Water Resources Institute. It's a regular. Good morning, Nigeria. It's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great.
All right, let's kickstart our conversation this morning with the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsav. The Honorable Minister, in the land now, everybody is crying, food. There's food shortage, and we know that one of the major mandates of this present administration is to achieve food security for all Nigerians. And water plays an important, role in that. What exactly is your ministry's priority for water in Nigeria today?
Okay, thank you so much. In the Renew Hope agenda of President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which one of his top priority hinge on food security, both agriculture, in maximizing food security, food production. We, in the Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, immediately we came on board on the 21st of August, 2023. We call on all stakeholders that are involved in the water and sanitation sector to come together so that we can have a dialogue. We can look into the challenges of water and sanitation sector in Nigeria. In doing that, we call on the managing directors of the 12 river basins in Nigeria, which are saddled with the mandate of one, the food production, water supply, creation of jobs, and other mandates that are given to them. Because we look at it that these are the agencies that are saddled with this responsibility, and they need to be told, they need to be awakened on their responsibility. So we gave them a charge that they should go back. This time, it is not going to be business as usual. We told them that they should go back to their various river basins, and these river basins are scattered around the whole country. So they went back, and after a very short time, we embarked on tour to all the agencies to see exactly what they are doing, how they are doing it, the result, and their challenges. And by that, we observed some certain things, and we came out with some programs. We brought up some programs that we help then scale up their production, scale up their activities in line with the renewed hope of the current administration. One of them, we call it Partnership for Expanded Irrigation Program in Nigeria. That is, on that, we see how we can partially commercialize the river basins, see how we can bring in partners into both the irrigation, water supplier, and also into the hydropower generation. The second program was, we call it the River Basin Strategy for Effective Delivery. What does the river basins need to have? What do they need to do to enhance food production? what do they need to scale up clean water supply to Nigerians. We also brought in the expanded water expanded for irrigation in Nigeria, because water is life. When we are talking about food production, we cannot maximize, we cannot scale up for production without taking cognizance of the dry season farming. That is where we are talking about irrigation farming.
Okay.
And when you're talking about irrigation farming, you are talking about the supply of water to our crops. So what are we going to do? We have to scale up the availability of this water for irrigation.
Okay.
So we brought these 3 programs to the river basins. I also introduced what is called the Ministerial Award for the best performing river basin. Let's see how we can assess them, evaluate them, and let us come out with the maximum expectations as it relates their mandate, so that food production will be maximized.
Okay.
Job creation will also be attained as we drive towards improving the economy of the nation.
Indeed, you've introduced us to things that you put into place to ensure that there's food security in Nigeria. And you know that this water sector varies depending on regions, on states, and all that. And all these policies you're putting in place now to ensure that you support the President Tinubu's food security policy. What are the specific needs of each of these regions? Did you take it into account while you're bringing out some of these policies?
Yes.
Okay. How did you do it?
When you take Nigeria, for example, we look at the different geopolitical zones. What are their individual needs? We took cognizance of that. That is where we have the different river basins scattered in Nigeria, and each river basins have some states that make up a particular river basin. And they are saddled with different responsibility. Yes, they are saddled with the responsibility of producing more food, giving more clean water to Nigerians, and also creating jobs. But how is that done when you are looking at the different geopolitical zones? If we take, for example, the far north, where there is less water, what are we to do? When you consider maybe the south, where there is water, but maybe the water has some challenges. What are we to do? Those are areas that we put into consideration. In the far north, you can look at provision of dams. As we all know that if you come to the south, there are less chances of dam creation in the south, because what we need to do now is to purify this water, to make this water accessible, the available water, to make the available water accessible and in good form for usage for both agriculture and human consumption. When you go to the north, you look at the peculiar needs of the north. Do they have this water that can be purified? Do they not have? If they don't have, what are we to do? We improvise. Creation of dams, creation, drilling of solar-powered boreholes, both for potable water drinking and also for irrigation. So those activities, those are the things that we have put in place that we service the different geopolitical zones as the case may be.
Okay, thank you, Minister, Honorable Minister, for giving us the challenges facing each of these zones, the peculiarities of the zones, and how you've been able to, in what ways you are trying to tackle the challenges. But I still want to remain with you for now. You know that one of the major challenges that we have in this country is the issue of flood. Like we suffered a huge flood last year, and especially the year before, that was 2022. And with the experience that we have had, you know, in the past, how do you intend to, what is your ministry doing, what is the federal government doing this time around to mitigate the impact of flooding this year?
Thank you so much. Issue of flooding has actually been a problem over the years. But as of last year, 2023, there were some series of committees that were put in place to see how we can put an end to the challenge of flood in Nigeria. Professor Adanu, who is the DG of Nigerian Institute of Water Resources Nigeria, was a member and also a chair of the subcommittee, and is here. I will call on him to throw more light on what your committee did and where we are on the issue of flooding.
Okay, Prof.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I guess.
Flooding, you know, it's like a ritual. We come here every year to perform the ritual anytime there's a forecast that we're going to have flooding. Now, over the years, I think from 2012, you remember, when we had this devastating flood. After that, the ministry has been very proactive, especially in flood outlook. When there is a forecast from NIMET, the ministry under NISA will do a flood outlook depending on the onset and also the cessation of flood and intensity of rains. But beyond that, we looked at the whole country. How is the drainage pattern of Nigeria is, and we have established it, and it is there. There are areas that are flooded all year round. Any time there is rainfall, is flooded. We have identified those areas. But excessive rainfall will promote flooding in other areas. What are responsible for this flooding in these areas? We have also identified them. Improper management of the water resources, land use, and then development patterns in the country, and then paving of land and other things. Now, 2022, there was this big flood. Then there was a committee set up by the president, which was the presidential committee, to find out a lasting solution. It's like we are charged to come out with a comprehensive master plan for the prevention of flood disaster in Nigeria. But prior to that, there was a document submitted by Minister of Humanitarian on responses to flooding and then preparedness. Then 2023, there was a committee also of the governors under the chairmanship of former governor of Kogi, Bello, His Excellency. Now, these three documents were to be put together to come out with a roadmap. So the vice president chairing that committee said we should come out with a roadmap. The first presidential instruction given to us by former President Buhari was to produce a document, a comprehensive document, in 90 days, which means the urgency was there.
Yeah.
But the one that came from the vice president's office was for 7 days. So if you look at it, there was urgency in both of them. So, but we met the deadline and submitted the documents.
Okay.
Now, the first one by former President Buhari, we sent the report to them. The President approved it on the 24th of August, 2023. But that was just before they left. So 24th of May. 24th of May.
Just few days.
Few days, yeah.
Handover.
So they couldn't take any action. But when the administration, this new administration came, under the minister, our minister, Prof. here, we had to remind them that this document had reached.
Okay.
What, we have not gotten any response from them. So what is it? So we were waiting that. Then the vice president's own came up again. Then we were told to put all the documents together and produce a roadmap, which we did. It was submitted to the office of the vice president then. If I had to defend it, when the governors met.
So you have a roadmap for it now?
We have a roadmap.
And what are the key interventions in this?
The key interventions are there. We have about 10 different interventions. Now, prevention of flooding is impossible. We recognize that. So the title of even the instruction given to us was a bit modified. Not prevention, but mitigation.
Yes.
Because flood will come.
It will.
Now, we identified various organizations that are, or stakeholders, that will contribute effectively. First, identification of floodplains, data collection, then management, then protection of the environment, protection of infrastructure, collaboration with other stakeholders, funding of this, and then the importance of flood in economy. That was a very useful aspect of it, because people think flooding is disastrous. No, flooding has positive, is the only natural disaster that has positive implications.
And what are those positive implications?
Now, flood water can be used for so many things. We are talking that you were asking the Honorable Minister just now about water for irrigation. Flood provides a lot of water. It recharges your groundwater. It provides water.
As if it's well channeled.
Yeah, even if it is not well channeled, sometimes it provides this naturally.
Okay.
It brings nutrients from upstream
Okay,
down and sprays it for those who farm. That's one. If you channel it just as a way, you can create a lot of assets from flooding. And most people during our intervention and also go after the flood, when they gave us this assignment, we went around to the floodplains, those affected. Most of them, when we asked them whether the federal government can relocate them peacefully, they said no. That their assets are based on the flood incidences.
Okay.
So they will not go. They can leave and come back, but they will never leave the environment.
Yes.
Because all the assets are there. So that is one. Now the infrastructure will protect. Floods are very devastating. So if you know how to channel your flood, you can protect your infrastructure. One other aspect that we take for granted is forest. Afforestation is very, very important because forests help to prevent flooding in a massive way. This forest. Now we're now cutting all our trees. And it's because flood can be checked by forest.
Yes.
The rainfall also a lot of it can be trapped by the leaves, which is intersection, and it evaporates back. The one that can get through onto the ground most of the time will come through the trunks of the trees, and they will go down straight into the ground to the roots, keeping the forest, and it slows down flooding. And also, in the dry season, the slow percolation that forest has provided will help to also recharge your groundwater. So anywhere you have flood and there's a forest, it helps to regulate the flood. Another thing is paving of the environment. Now all the estates you're having today, there has to be a regulation that any estate built over the square meters of land must provide areas where infiltration will go into ground. If you pave all your ground, any water that comes will flow. Okay. So all estates must have sufficient drainage channels to convey the area they have paved that will not allow water to sink into the ground.
Okay.
If you don't do it, you pay for it. So those are areas and many others that we... So we'll have a comprehensive master
Yes,
plan.
like you say, it's like a ritual every time we come here, and we're still waiting for the forecast from NIMET for 2024.
NIMET is doing it, I think, on the 20th.
Of March.
On the 20th of this
Yes.
month.
And you had a meeting yesterday, and you had some resolutions, and with synergies between states on water supply, and one of the river basins that is of concern to Nigeria and Africa and the world is the Lake Chad Basin. The shrinking of the Lake Chad due to insecurity. And I saw Governor Zulum going out to Lake Chad some few weeks ago, in a boat, talking about irrigation, dry season farming and all that. So what were some of the resolutions we had at the meeting yesterday that will ensure, Nigerians have clean water and they have clean water for irrigation? Because this policy on food security cannot be realized if we don't go through dry season farming at the same time. So let's have some of these resolutions you came up with. Okay. And your synergy with states on that too.
Okay, thank you so much. The meeting we had yesterday, just started yesterday, it is called the National Council on Water Resources and Sanitation. We started yesterday, it's going to span for the whole week. And the council meeting is the highest policy-making body of the water and sanitation sector in Nigeria. It holds annually in the country, and it formulates policies for its effective implementations. And these are the issues that, and for this year, the theme of this year is people, planet, and prosperity. Okay. That is good governance, water governance for food security, national food security. And we choose this theme now at a time when there is an outcry from Nigerians on the hike of food prices in Nigeria. Yeah. And also in addition to what you have just mentioned. And the membership of this meeting are all the commissioners of water resources in the 36 states of the Federation and FCT, including all the stakeholders of the water and sanitation sector in Nigeria. The meeting started yesterday. We are into the technical, where I am the chair of the committee of the council, and the permanent secretary is the chair of the technical section. As we are discussing now, the technical section is ongoing, and we are believing that by the end of this meeting, policies will be formulated, will be proposed that will, one, solve the issue of food shortage in Nigeria. That is our target. And two, provide adequate clean water for Nigerians. We are believing that, as we all know, how can food production be enhanced? How can we scale up food production in the country? The only way we can do that is an all year round cultivation, all year round production of this food. And that can only be attained through irrigation farming. In 2023, precisely November, as we were going around the tour, I flagged up the 2023-2024 dry season farming in the Benue-Owena River Basin, where I gave all the river basins the charge to commence the irrigation farming immediately to enhance food production in Nigeria. Now they are in the council now. So where are we now on the irrigation farming? Our target as 2023, we had about dams production, construction of dams in Nigeria was about 24%. We are believing that by the end of 2026, we must have achieved 80%, because these dams are the major sources of this irrigable water for our crops. As the dam also helps in the supply of water, but for other uses, it also used for the hydropower generation. We didn't stop at that. We also look at other issues. In this particular council that is ongoing now, we are also not going to look at issue of food production alone. We are also going to look at issue of open defecation. How can we end open defecation?
Yeah, we'll come to that, sir. But your synergy with the state government concerning water production in Nigeria, you think it's satisfactory so far? And if it's not, what are the challenges?
That is why we have the meeting.
Okay.
It is not satisfactory.
Okay.
That is why we have the meeting. When I was going around the country, I met with governors, I met with the transitional institution, both at the states and local government level. They are now in Abuja here today for the meeting. We are believing that by the end of this meeting, we will come out with some partnerships. They will be sensitized on what they need to know and what they need to do to scale up water supply in the country, to scale up water availability for irrigation. That is our target for this particular meeting. And that is the reason why we choose the theme, People, Planet, and Prosperity.
Yeah, people, planet, and prosperity. Yeah, you were talking about the issue of potable water, you know, which is very vital. And all the streets, especially in Lagos and in some city centers, you find all these young guys hawking water. And most of this water they carry, they are not that pure. They are not clean. We have seen various videos of people being arrested for, you know, packaging unauthorized water and all that. So what is your ministry actually doing to ensure that, I mean, because we have a lot of challenges, health challenges right now facing us in this country, and it's being worsened by all these, you know, water in sachet water, and, you know, are you actually working with the ministries concerned, like, you know, to ensure that Nigerians' health are well, you know, taken care of?
Thank you so much for that question. I was about to go to that. We in the Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, we have that collaborative collaboration with Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture, and Ministry of Environment. We are working in synergy to try to see how we can solve some of these challenges. Just as you talk about the issue of people hacking water around some certain cities in Nigeria, we have also observed that. And in the meeting that is ongoing now, that is also a challenge. We have called some partners. I mentioned some membership of this particular council meeting, which I mentioned the commissioners in the state, which are critical stakeholders in the water sector in Nigeria. Because at the federal, you cannot be everywhere at every time. So both the state government and the local government are also very, very key, because you cannot be at a particular local government at a particular time at the same time. So what are they supposed to know and what are they to do at all times? Now, we also have some other stakeholders, like our other development partners. The Standard Organization of Nigeria is there, which is also very vital, very critical in checking the regulation of standards of what we take in Nigeria. We have to bring them on board to check, because they are the ones that give licenses to the water factories in Nigeria, whether it's adequate or okay for production of water in Nigeria. So what are they doing? We bring them on board, try to see how we can meet. So in this particular meeting that we're holding, they are also part of it. Try to see how we can work in synergy to check all the regulations, to make sure that we enforce them, okay, that all the challenges that we are having will be solved. Okay, so we are working.
Yeah. You know, you've given us, a clear picture of what you're doing and what you intend to do in the future. And let's bring in Professor Emmanuel Adano into the conversation. Water governance, effective management requires good governance at all levels, bringing stakeholders, participating and effective monitoring of these mechanisms that entails water, because water is life, and most people don't understand the importance of water. Let's look at the interventions that you intend to bring. We're on the edge of another rainy season and we're expecting some flooding to come in. Let's look at the interventions that you have. You said you have a roadmap. Let's look at the interventions that you have as part of this roadmap and how you intend to implement it.
Well, interventions, most of the recommendations we made, except for the physical recommendations, like construction of structures, hydraulic structures to reduce flood. Well, some are ongoing, but there are specific areas that we believe if you construct some of these hydraulic structures can reduce the flooding. Some of them also, the design is on. Some of them, not all as recommended, but we've identified so many of them where such structures can really reduce the flooding incidents in Nigeria. That is one. I'll get back to the theme of the council.
Yes.
Let's say is people,
Planet and prosperity.
I would have said planet, people, and prosperity. Yeah.
Planet comes first, actually.
First, people and prosperity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the planet, the Earth, 70% of it is covered by water.
Water.
People, 70% of us
It's water.
is water. Agriculture, 70% of water usage is by agricultural produce. Okay, so you can see the nexus. Now, prosperity is how you manage yourself and the available resources for a better living, and then not destroying the environment. That is actually... Now, the water governance in terms of this is you must have sufficient water, accessible to people, and affordable. And that water must be clean. Unclean water is no water. Now, that is for specific purposes.
Yeah.
Unclean water for hygiene sometimes is good for agriculture. Yeah, because we have blue water, gray water, and green water. Now, different kinds of water. And for prosperity, you have to govern this water, different kinds of water, for the specific purpose for which it's done. Don't allow them mix if it is not necessary. So in governing generally, water governance, you must know which water goes for what, so that no water flowing is totally useless. So we must exactly know the boundary of interaction between these waters for human use, for agricultural purposes, and also for the earth that is providing it, whether to bath or not. Because flood is the earth just having its shower and all this. So you must know how to manage them effectively.
I like that. Flood is the way of
having
its shower.
Shower. It's just having its own, washing itself and all this.
Yes.
If that doesn't happen, you cannot have a mobile, a dynamic earth.
Okay.
So we have to accept this. Okay. But try to manage them. Okay. And also manage the water, the different kinds of water, different times. Okay. No intersection if it is not necessary. They should be separated completely. So this is what we do generally in the management and governance of water.
Prof, I just want to find out because there have been several interventions, just like you said, and you as the DG of the National Water Institute. Now, it's Nigeria National Development Plan 2021-2025, which set a goal of increasing access to water and sanitation by 2030 and ending of open defecation by 2025. Do you think it's attainable?
Well, with I think out of the 700 local governments, 170.
Yeah, we have 774.
4, yes.
About 117.
117 have attained it now. And I think it has to do with proper intervention and also sensitization. The state governments must also be part of it, even the traditional rulers. They must be part of this. Because from the federal, the Honorable Minister can't do all without the cooperation of the state.
I'm talking about the national development plans now. How impactful do you think the target of 2020?
This is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So far we had
yes
about 117 out of 772. So we have to go sensitizing the people.
Okay.
And the sensitization must be high level. Okay. Incidentally, I think the vice president is the chairman of the committee, steering committee. Okay. So with that, at that level, when the Council of States meet, and this is projected to them all the time, that we need to do this, we need to do this, I think most of the acceptance of soft landing will come from the states.
Okay.
The federal government can do just as much as it can provide from the federal.
Okay.
But the states must do more.
In addition to what he has just said, we have the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign program that is ongoing. And what we intend to do, we intend meeting with the Nigerian Governors Forum, the chairman on the Nigerian Governors Forum. After that, we will meet also with the individual governors. We visit the states to enlighten them because, one, this campaign has to take to the subnational, that is the states and local government, including the traditional institution. They have to also buy into this. We are, as we all know, yes, when we are talking about cleaning the environment, when we are talking about ending open defecation in Nigeria, we are talking about working on the mindset of Nigerians. There are some people that has the toilets there, but because they don't know the importance of defecating in the toilet, some of them still go about defecating outside the toilet. That is one of the challenge. So they have to be sensitized. Nigeria has to be sensitized. That is one. Two, the lack of toilets.
I was going to ask that because I mean, you go through the city centers, you hardly found available enough.
Yes.
Not to talk about the rural areas where we don't even have.
Yes.
So there is need for desensitization. You said.
Yes.
Especially with the local traditional, rulers and all that to carry them along in this drive.
Yes. So we are actually working on that.
Okay.
We thank Mr. President Bola Tinubu so much for the support that he's given to our ministry. Okay. Money has been approved for construction of toilets around the country. And we are not relenting. First of all, we are going to all the states, sensitizing the states that they need, because we have a program. We call it the P-Wash and the Salt Wash programs. We also have the student wash, the health wash, and the youth wash. We are also bringing both the women, the youth into this, because cleaning the environment, sanitation is also a business, because it also creates jobs and also enhances the economy of the nation. How? One, we want people to know that by the construction of those toilets, one can make business out of it. You can make money out of it. When you construct toilets, it may be in public places like markets, motor parks, and other public institutions. As people use these toilets, they pay for it, they pay some token for it to service the toilets. Okay. And then the people that transport the fecal waste from the toilets to the treatment plant also generates their income. They are also engaged. They have job. It creates job for them. And those wastes are now treated for the production of biogas and also for organic manure. So you can see that it's a kind of recycled process where jobs are created, wet is created, and the environment itself is being sanitized. So we are working on that. We are meeting with the governance, meeting with the traditional institutions, and also meeting with some social groups, sensitizing them of the need for them to buy into this campaign.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good thing that you have highlighted. I mean, it's laudable.
Yeah.
And I know that it will do well for us in this country if it can be achieved. But I want to just ask, because the problem now will be the security of all these things, because several times the federal government or government, both state and federal, have provided some amenities for the people, and before you know it, they are being vandalized, they are being, you know. So one, would there be a kind of a security for all these things? Two, the sustainability of it, because it's one thing to do it now, then it's another thing for you to be able to sustain it for a long period of time. And secondly, the awareness. We have not been seeing the usual awareness on television or radio, because you need to, before you can say you want to sensitize the people, you have to do all these, you know, campaigns, awareness, and all that. So how are you going about all those?
If we could remember, there is even a jingle that is ongoing now. We are sensitizing Nigerians of the need to also buy into this. We have a program called the Subwash.
Okay.
Subwash is sustainable, urban, and rural water, sanitation, and hygiene. Sustainable. How can we sustain it? We are also want to bring that inclusivity.
Okay.
We want to bring into this both the state government and the local government. Let them take ownership of these projects.
Okay.
So that is what we are doing now, because we discovered that in the past, when the federal government goes and constructs some of these facilities for the use of the locals, of the use at the state level, they look at it that, no, we're not the owners of this. Federal government is the owner of these facilities.
So they vandalize it.
it.
Yeah.
So what we are doing now is that as we are partnering, as we are collaborating with the state and local government, whatever we sensitize them to construct or put in place, and what the federal government is also doing, we let them know that they should take ownership of this. That is what we are now doing, is that as we make available some of these facilities, we now hand it over to them.
Okay.
For them to maintain. Because as you give it them to maintain, you hand it over to the state government, or you hand it over to the communities for them to maintain. They now take ownership of these facilities. As you provide these toilets and you give it to them, maybe, for example, you construct these toilets maybe in an institution, and it's being handed over to the management of that institution. They take ownership of it. And because of that, they cannot allow people to vandalize it, because they know that they're the beneficiaries of this facility. If, for example, now these facilities are being constructed in the marketplace or car parks, you hand it over to the management of the car parks or the marketplaces, and they take ownership. Because one, sometimes you let them know that this is business. Two, you let them know that this is also sanitizing their environment, sanitizing the society. So they feel belonged. They feel the owners of this. So because of that, they cannot allow people to vandalize. So these are the policies, these are the mechanisms that we are putting in place to see that we sustain these facilities.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let me move over to Prof now. Prof, we know that globally now we have the problem of climate change, which also is a major challenge. You know, when it comes to water supply. So how can Nigerian government address the impact of climate change, you know, in this water resource availability in the country? Especially your institute, what are you doing? How are you advising government?
Yeah, we, as an institute, research and institute, we look at climate change. Climate change is normal. Today, anything climate change is just a variation in the humidity as well as temperature. It's water and temperature. And the effect of it is either rainfall or no rainfall. That's it. and the ocean rising or not. That is it. That is the total effect of climate change. Climate has been changing for billions of years. Now, this period we're in now, we're trying to believe that industrialization is responsible for the increase in temperature and the climate is changing based on that. Now, that said, response to climate change is when you know the effect of the climate change, then you know how to respond to it. It may not be effective, totally effective, but at least to reduce the impact of this. In Nigeria today, the climate change that we notice is either in flooding or desertification. That is the effect we're having. And when there's flooding, what happens? Areas that normally should not be flooded now have excess water. Now, desertification is also part of it. Now, Lake Chad is withdrawing. We know it has gone down to less than 10% of what it was in the 60s. Now, what do? The only thing we can do if it is less water is to enhance the environment with more water. And the only thing we can do if it is more water is to control that water. So the Institute has checked some of this very effectively. And between 2012 and 2022, we put all the flooding incidences in Nigeria.
Okay.
We simulated it. And we have seen that there's a remarkable constancy in the flooding in certain environments that are ordinarily should not be flooded in terms of water availability. We have identified this. Now, what is the problem? Is it that they are not managing the water well, or that the water that they have accumulated there are having effect, or is the environment so susceptible to groundwater, surface water movement without control? We have all that. Now, there are two distinct deltas in Nigeria. The Niger Delta area, which basically is replicated in Bayelsa, and the inland delta, which is in Jigawa. What is happening that we always have flood here? Jigawa has been subjected to flood annually. We say climate change. Yeah, but climate is changing.
Yeah.
Why is that environment being flooded annually? We have also identified some of the problems that are there.
What are some of the problems?
Now, in Jigawa, it is the beginning of some rivers that are branching on their way to Lake Chad. The beginning of the river. But in Delta, it is the end of the discharge of the water to the ocean.
One is the beginning, the other one is the end.
Yes, one is the beginning, the other one is the end. Now, in the beginning, in that environment, we have ancient sand dunes that block the path of these rivers, basically Jamari and Hadejia and some other tributaries. On their way to Chad, they are blocked. So they try to find their way. And the environment is a bit relatively flat. Okay. So the water tries to find its way. And now, that same zone, all the way from Maiduguri down to Ife side, we have an environment of a large number of dams exposed to the atmosphere. So evaporation is very constant throughout. So the atmosphere in that region is always charged with humidity. So the onset of first rains coming from southwest against the northeast trade winds, the dry one, they meet. And at that point, they drop their water early. So most of the floods happening there are earlier than the floods that happen in the other part of the country. We have identified that too. So all our management will be based on the understanding there. How do we manage the water resources in that area? But in the Niger Delta, for instance, there's is more of water coming from some hydrological areas that go through the trunk of the river down there. Now, in Bayelsa, for instance, we have about 13 of the 21 outlets into the ocean.
Okay.
Either 13 or 11 into the ocean. And those are some streams that get into it. They're also flooded. That also silted up. Okay. So all we can do is to go there, try to desail this,
All right.
and see how the water can flow down there. Why up? We have to manage this.
Okay.
But there are other areas within the country, other than these two,
All right.
that need also to be effectively managed.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor. Okay, Juma, you have a question for the minister.
Yes, we're looking at the achieving the 2025 target in open defecation, if it is visible, and expectation from your ministry on the meeting you are having on food security, open defecation, and all that. What do you expect as the outcome of this meeting?
Okay, as I earlier said, as of now, before we came on board, we had 105 local government that were open defecation free in the country out of the 774 local governments. As of now, we were able to achieve more 12, making 170 local government at the moment. We are going to scale up that, and we are believing that by the end of 2025, we might have achieved reasonably number of local government, if not 100%. That is our target. And how are we doing this? As I earlier said, we are going to undergo an intensive campaign. The jingles are ongoing now, and we are going to move from state to state to sensitize Nigerians. We want Nigerians to take ownership of their living. We want Nigerians to take ownership of their head. We want Nigerians to take ownership of the land that God has given them. To put in place all the necessary steps, all the things that are needed for we Nigerians to live well, to live in good health. One, we were talking about open defecation free, achieving open defecation free. We can only achieve that by the usage of toilets. The question is that, are those toilets there? And if they are there, where
are they enough?
Are they enough?
Yeah.
And if they are enough,
Are they being maintained?
and they being maintained, and then if they are maintained, why are we not using them?
Okay.
That is the issue. Then the issue of attitudinal change comes into play. So these are the 4 basic areas that we have put in our mind that we are driving this campaign.
Okay.
That one, we want to make sure that the toilets are available everywhere. Okay. As I earlier said, we thank Mr. President so much for the love he has for this country, Nigeria, that he approved some funds for the construction of those toilets around the country. So we are going to do that in collaboration with the state government, because they also have to key in. Toilets has to be constructed by the federal government, which we are going to do that, and the states will also do that. And we are also calling on other private sector developing partners also to key into this. We also tell them the importance of construction of toilets, as it is not only business, as it is not only the improvement of health, it is also business.
Okay, talking about
it has economic implications.
Yes.
So there is no doubt, Minister, that you have fantastic programs. But the major challenge has always been the implementation. So how do we overcome this challenge this time around?
That is why I was saying that we are going to do it. Okay. Some funds has already been appropriated for this, where we are going to do it. And I, as I earlier said, that we are visiting states, because one, there are some over there are some state governments over there that doesn't know the importance of what we are talking about. We are going to meet them and let them see the importance of the construction of those toilets, that how it will be beneficial to the citizens of the states, how they can make impact to the local people. So we're going also to do that. And we are also going to sensitize people to make them know that not having the toilets, that is not the end thing, but maintaining the toilets, sustaining the toilets is another thing. We are also going to sensitize people on this.
I'm going to come to you on schools. I saw a video recently of schools and the toilets in the schools. What are you going to do about that?
We are also going to visit the schools.
Okay.
We are visiting both the traditional institutions, the schools, even the marketplaces. We are all going to visit them. Some of them has the toilets over there.
Yes.
All right. Thank
They
you.
they have the toilets there. But the problem there is that because of lack of knowledge, they are not well maintained. So we let them know the importance of the maintenance of these facilities they have.
Okay.
And some, because they look at it that those toilets are very expensive to construct, we will give them a guideline of how simple and well-regulated toilets that can be constructed that doesn't take much money. The design will be given to them.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for coming on Good Morning Nigeria today, and also for telling us the plan that your ministry has, for to ensure portable water supply and open defecation target is met. Thank you so much, and we hope and we pray that all these programs that you have highlighted, you'll be able to implement them. Thank you so much. We've been talking with the Honorable Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Uters. Yeah, thank you, sir. And also, we want to appreciate your coming on the program this morning. Professor Emmanuel Adano, DG CEO, National Water Resources. Thank you. Thank you very much. When I'll take a break, Good Morning Nigeria continues. Stay with us.